Welcome back to another episode of Life with Lam. Today I'm here with TikTok superstar, Gab Keighley. I'm going to start you off with that.
Hi everyone.
How are you?
I'm really good. I'm quite tired today, but I feel like it's going to be good for sometimes it's good for me to slow down. It helps my speaking. So
Definitely.
it's kind of a sleepy Gab's kind of a good Gab to
That's
get.
good. Slow down to speed up. We love it. You're a
100%.
very, very busy individual, and
Yeah.
I think we get along really well because of that.
Yes,
That's
100%.
awesome.
I feel like since the day we met, we've been like, go. Like, what are you doing? I'm doing this. And then we see each other at work and we're like,
Yeah, that's it. I remember in the setup literally a couple of days ago, you were like, what did you say? You were, oh no, my mind is completely blanked. What did you say? Oh, you love being that person that is interested in other people.
Yeah.
And I think like that's one of the best qualities that you have as a person. I'm so excited to unpack your story.
Yeah.
And you literally just said, oh, Nick told me not to ask any questions about you. So I'm going to make sure that this podcast is solely about you.
Yeah.
But for the listeners as well, give us a bit of context about yourself. Like, who are you? What do you do?
Okay, so I am Gab Keighley. I feel like pronouncing my last name, I don't think many people know how to pronounce my last name, so maybe that's a good place to start. Keighley. It's like Wheelie, but with a K. I am now an accredited exercise scientist. I think a sports scientist, exercise scientist. I live and breathe sport. It makes me so happy. I want to become a physiotherapist, so that's on the cards at the moment. And I'm just sort of doing everything I can to stay in and around high performance sport. I love it so much, and I know I have a greater purpose, and I'm just at the moment trying to navigate what that is, like how I can use my sport and care for people and make it something really special. So I'm just doing lots of things at the moment.
Yes, I love it. And again, on that topic of you being busy and a go-getter, I think that's from day one, it struck out to me, and I think we just gelled instantly. We obviously worked together. How does it feel saying that you're a fully accredited sports scientist?
It feels really good. Actually, a lot of my friends finished like 6 months ago. So because I've already been in the field working and all of my friends finished 6 months ago, I feel like I've just been in my mind already won. But no, it's a really big achievement for me. I honestly thought that if you'd asked me in high school, I wouldn't have believed you that I would have a degree and be here. And I don't know. I'm really proud of myself, actually.
Love it. Moment for Gab.
Yeah.
Was it always sports science? Like, had that always struck out to you? I guess the preface of this podcast is to talk about, what are you doing now and what are the journeys or pathways that you took to get to it?
Yeah.
Was sports science always on the cards for you?
Yeah, 100%. Sport's always been my release and helping people with their sport. And I don't know, I remember in primary school, like fake coaching kids at lunchtime, like rallying people to come together and it was also kids that like didn't really have mates and things like that. And I tried to like connect people with sport. And I think for myself, I found so much connection through sport as well, like playing basketball on the weekends, swimming, running, everything, just the friends outside of school and the people I met through sport helped me through so much. So sports science seemed like a sort of natural progression. I also I'm not pretty naturally driven to learn. I want to say like school, I don't know. Now I'm glad that I got through it. But if I was going to keep studying, it would had to do with sport, I reckon.
Yeah. And I guess when you were growing up, I guess I can see it now. Like, you're such a connector. You always rally everyone together, and it's such a great skill to have. I guess I commend you a lot about it. Like, I look up to that aspect about you, and you really do bring out the best in people. I want to talk about like the learning aspect of things. Like, you talk about how if you wanted to learn, it had to be sport driven. What was it like when it wasn't, I guess, sport related?
Great question. I love that. So I have dyslexia and ADHD, So I found that when it was something that wasn't movement learning, I found that really difficult. A lot of my childhood, it was sort of undiagnosed what was wrong with me. Well, not wrong with me, but I was just super hyperactive. There was a lot going on where we couldn't quite figure out if it was situational or if it was something else. So just when it came to learning other things that I wasn't interested in, I found it quite difficult because I was sort of like, well, why would I need to know it if I wasn't interested in it? And I think as well, it's something that's spoken about a lot more now, but it was hard. I do feel sorry for the teachers that I had and things like that, because it's like, it was a harder thing to navigate when we were younger. But now I feel like particularly ADHD is spoken about a lot more. Dyslexia is still kind of like weird to a lot of people. A lot of people don't understand it. But yeah, I found it difficult, and I think teachers found it difficult to aid it, sort of thing. Yeah.
Definitely. Were there any instances where you really struggled with it? And it's interesting you bring up that topic about how it's more spoken about and more prevalent,
Yeah.
all the medication that people are taking for ADHD and how renowned it is now. When you were growing up and you were finding it hard to learn, did you ever look down on yourself and like your own capacity to do things?
Oh my gosh, I'm like I don't know. I think I'm so positive when it comes to other people, but when it came to me and my learning, I honestly didn't think I was going to get through high school. I found learning really, really difficult, and it got to the point where I was just like, I'm obviously not made to do this. Why should I keep doing this? Like, this is not for me. When you've got teachers who don't really facilitate that and help you figure out your way of learning, it's sort of just like, oh, well, mum believes in me, but no one else does. Like, what am I meant to do with this, sort of thing? And at the time of high school, it feels like the whole world, because all you're doing is learning. So for me, it is something to this day. Like, it's funny, only graduating, I got the confirmation that I'd graduated like 2 weeks ago, and my mum kept wanting to talk about it, and she was telling my family, and she wanted to take me out for dinner, and every time she'd say it, I was like, no, let's not talk about it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. She's like, what is wrong? And I was like, I genuinely just don't believe that I've graduated. Like, I don't want to talk about it until they give me the piece of paper, like, write it down, make it official. I don't believe it. Like, I just can't fathom that I have done something like this.
And do you feel like it's a repercussion of the system that currently is? I guess we grow up through primary school, high school, and I was very privileged that I didn't struggle in that capacity. Like, learning came pretty easily when it came to that structured environment.
Yeah.
And the expectation of, you do your core English, maths, science.
Yeah.
Maybe not the science part, but like humanities and business and those sorts of things. Like, they came very easily, I guess. And I look back now and I talk to people like yourself and a wide range of guests who didn't find it so easy.
Yeah.
What is it all like? Like, I can imagine it'd be one of the most isolating things in the world, where you just have this imposter syndrome. Like, am I good enough?
Yeah.
What is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Like, language like that. And how did you navigate it?
For me, it was something I think I genuinely have only navigated these past couple years. Like, I think studying sports science, I was confident in what I was doing because I'm so passionate about it. But like you said, isolating, that is literally the word to describe it. But I think I found it quite difficult because I wouldn't say I'm super extroverted, but I feel like I carry myself pretty well.
Really? Wow.
But when it comes to learning or knowledge or anything, I will doubt myself like so much. So I think when people see that doubt in me when it comes to my learning or my knowledge or me being tested on something, I think they get quite shocked because I don't try and carry myself like someone who's super insecure or someone who has like learning difficulties, just because I don't like the idea of making it my whole personality. But in high school and primary school, it was sort of because you know, when that's all you're around and that's all you're doing with your friends is learning, it's just extremely isolating. But there was definitely ways that I got through it, like having really good mates outside of school and doing the sport and things that just made me, you know, not think about learning. But I did get through. I just had to try a lot harder.
Definitely. And did you know from a young age that those sorts of things were happening, like the ADHD or the dyslexia?
So dyslexia, yes, it was picked up pretty fast because it's pretty prevalent. Like it's pretty easily shown as well. But the ADHD, not as much. It was sort of like, is this circumstantial? Like, is she just hyper? So it's something I've more navigated the past couple of years. But it's been nice, and I think it would have been really nice figuring that out a lot younger. But that's okay.
I think you've got like, I guess like the long end of the straw where you've figured out, I guess you've had this passion of sporting.
Yeah.
And you've managed to navigate, like, this is something that I want to do. Talk to us about that feeling, because I know this system is so structured and strict in the way that, you have to, like, get the best possible grades and apply yourself academically. But say yourself, you know, of course there's academics behind it, but there's also that physical and, like, interactive aspect of it.
100%.
What's it like finding your passion?
I think for me, it's just satisfying. After so many years of struggling, it's really bloody satisfying. It's crazy now to think how much it felt like my whole world when I was in primary school and high school. Like now I'm surrounded by people who are like-minded and similar, and I can see that I can apply myself in other ways. I think in sport, like anything, having good interpersonal skills is great. And I've been lucky enough where I've gotten the most incredible experiences purely just through like my talking and my behaviours and things like that. Like I back myself on very little, but when I say, if you give me an interview for something, like don't look at my marks, just give me an interview, I reckon I'd get the job. Like I agree. I love talking, and I don't know, I back myself in that sense of I will give it 100%. And in sports science, being surrounded by physios and other health professionals, it's pretty like-minded people who could just never picture themselves sitting at a desk all day. They're all quite hyperactive, you know, a physio's job, they very rarely sit down. So yeah, it's really satisfying, and it's nice to feel like I have the capacity to do it.
It's a great message, and I think you don't get taught this when you are younger, and all you can see is that learning environment of, oh, well, my mates have read like 10 pages ahead of me in my textbook and those sorts of things.
So good, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
right? Because like that's all you can, that's the merit that you have. It's like who's further in front of the homework, who's on top of that sort of thing, when maybe you're not interested in those sorts of things.
Yes, oh my God, that is such an interesting point. You just like set off this light bulb in my head. I think the earliest memory of me figuring out I was learning wise different was, did you have like, you know, like set reading in primary school, but like early years of primary school, did you have different levels
like
of reading?
A through to Z or something? Yes. Yeah.
Well, I remember we had different levels of colours of what reader you get sent home with or something. And I remember being in like year one or I don't know, and still having like green when like you could get to gold or something. And I remember comparing and mum being like, oh, it's okay. Like some people just find it a little bit harder. Like it's all right. Like you'll get better. I still can't really read that well, but it's like, you know, it's just not much of an issue now. It doesn't matter.
Definitely. And there needs to be more importance on the fact that once you sort of break out from high school and the prerequisite of studying, you find your people.
100%.
And the energy that you put out and the passions that you align yourself with, like you start finding people who share similar interests and values with you, which is
for sure.
amazing. And it sounds like that's what's happening with you as well.
So good. Yeah, so good. I think with everything that's happened in my life, I feel like sometimes that my personality and who I am heavily compensates for my learning ability, which I don't know if that's quite harsh to say, but sometimes I think that I put up a good front of being this really confident person because I want to have something that I really believe in myself in. And after so many years of sort of faking that confidence, it's sort of real now to a point. You know what I mean? Like I can kind of like, now that I'm in an area that I feel really confident in, and like I obviously still have my doubts, but I don't know. I feel like that confidence is now real in some aspects.
But who in the world knows exactly what they're doing, you know?
Yeah, that's so true.
Like who has like that thought process of, yes, this is exactly what I'm doing and this is the outcome of it, other than like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, a narcissist or something, you know? But no one has it all figured out.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I guess
that's
like the phrase of fake it till you make it does really make sense in that situation. Of course, 100%. Like you can't be deluded with it, but it's awesome to see. Talk to us a bit about like your mum and how she was in the whole learning process of it. Like how pivotal has she been in your whole upbringing?
Oh, my mum has been my rock. It's funny because we actually got in a fight this morning, but I'm still going to say really positive things about her.
Okay. Shout out, Mum.
Love you, Mum. No, she is my rock. I don't probably give her enough verbal credit as she deserves, but she has played the biggest part in my whole life. Like learning wise, her and I are extremely similar. I think she has struggled with a lot of the same things I've struggled with without the diagnosis. So in that sense, it was really good to have her as a role model, because I could look at her and say, oh, well, she works, you know, an amazing job. She has a degree. There was always that point, like primary school, high school, where I'd look at her and say, okay, she struggles with the same things, but she's achieved so much. So it was great. It was really nice having someone who I actually related to, and it wasn't just someone being like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm dyslexic too. Like they were actually like, no, I feel the pains of not being able to understand things. Like I get you to an intimate level. So that for me was really important. But she's really awesome.
Love that. I remember your 21st and the speech you gave. It was so sweet.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah, really good.
I want to dial back to that point about people trying to relate to you on that level. Were there actual instances where that happened?
Oh, it's probably the most common conversation I have with my dyslexia and ADHD, because I think sometimes it's relevant to bring up, sometimes it's not. And for me, it's not something that I typically go projecting and sharing about myself, just because it's not who I am. It doesn't define me. It was so relevant in high school and primary school, but now it's like, who cares? So the main response I get to that is, oh my God, me too. And I'm like, oh, actually, like I get so excited, because I think that it's someone who, you know, has really got quite traumatic experiences around this disability. And then they're like, oh, well, not actually, but like, I feel like I do. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's probably the double-edged sword of it being more talked about and prevalent. Like people start Googling and they're like, oh my God, I can relate to like short attention span, when it's like, oh, I've been scrolling TikTok, so my attention span is set to a 3-minute window.
100%. Like I get my friends sending, like, bless them, like, it doesn't actually offend me. I just roll my eyes and like keep scrolling, but they send me like 3 signs that you have ADHD, and I'm like,
you can't. I feel like you cannot go about, the dark side of TikTok, hey? Like, 3 signs you have this or 3 signs you have that. Like the hypochondriac coming out
100%,
with everyone.
100%.
Oh my gosh. And so, look, like it sounds like it's been sort of this windy path of navigating, you know, not being completely diagnosed.
Yeah.
Actually, when were you diagnosed?
ADHD was around a year ago, but it was always pretty much confirmed. I only got the official diagnosis because I was going to start taking medication for it. But it was essentially diagnosed my whole life. I just didn't want to take medication for it, and there was a lot going on where it wasn't relevant to give the diagnosis. And then my dyslexia, picked up from probably prep, I want to say. But yeah. I
didn't even know that about you.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
And it looks like, you know, you've established this really positive, like career sort of pathway now. And has it always been like that? You know, aside from the like the ADHD and the dyslexia, like, and I don't mean to be the pessimist in this thing, but sometimes there are hardships in
100%.
life that you do go through. Like, do you want to touch on any of, or if there are any?
Yeah. So it's such a weird place in life I am at right now. It's quite crazy because I find now I'm the most positive I've ever been in my life, but then I reflect on the things that me and my family have gone through, and they've all shaped me to be the person I am today. I had my little brother was quite sick growing up. I think that was probably the first really formative thing that shaped me as a person. That thought of going, I've got a sibling and I might become an only child. Like that was a crazy thing to experience at such a young age. I have dealt with the distance of a parent. So grieving someone who is still alive, which I think a lot of people go through, but it is sort of a bit harder when it is a parent. And yeah, growing up, me and my brother didn't quite have the safest environment. It wasn't as nurturing as I think my mum would have hoped it to been. So dealing with that was crazy. I found that I didn't feel safe at home, and then I'd go to school and not feel safe either. So I think for the first sort of probably 17 years of my life, I was just sort of on survival mode, trying to figure out who I was and how to get through. And it was something really hard to navigate, and I have since got out of that situation, which I'm so grateful for. I think we've been out of that situation since 2017. But since then, it's been interesting because there's been a lot to deal with after that. You sort of you open the can of worms and it's like, oh, wow, other people didn't grow up quite similar. But yeah, I think now that I look back on it, I wouldn't wish it upon anyone or myself. Like, I've got good self-worth where I'm like, I didn't deserve that. But it's made me the person I am today.
Thank you for sharing.
No, that's okay. Of course.
And I think it explains like the optimism that you show today, because I think you have that perspective of, not experience such a safe and nurturing environment where you had the privilege of I'll say it's a privilege to have like loving 100%. Parents as well, who care for you and are there for you a lot of the time. What was it like navigating, I guess, 17 years of being completely on edge, because your home is normally the place that you can retreat to if school is not treating you the best, and then sometimes school is actually the escape because you can thrive amongst friends and those sorts of things. So I can imagine how like terrifying it would have been, or even traumatizing. So
yeah, I think traumatizing is probably a good word. I can laugh at it now, but yeah, probably traumatizing. For me, I think, and also actually I'll just say for me, I won't include Harry in this, but I think for me, a lot of my anxiety manifested into physical reactions in my body. From almost day dot of primary school, I'd want to go home. I'd be sick in my stomach. I'd have like insane stomach pain, and I never knew what it was from. I was like, why am I coming to school every single day and getting a sore stomach? And my mum probably knew at the time that it was anxiety, but I would have this chronic stomach pain, and it's literally just the anxiety like manifesting itself into, physical pain. But for me, I found it really difficult. I felt like there wasn't words that I could put into what I was going through. I didn't realize that other people weren't going through the same thing. But then when I would miss school or have to sort of excuse my behaviour, I didn't have the words to explain what was happening. And I remember trying to explain it to some people and them not receiving it well, which for me was really, really hard. But I look back on it now and I completely forgive those people because I think at the time I was just a little kid like asking for help. But who can blame another kid not knowing what to do with that? Like so many adults don't know what to do with that, let alone another kid sort of thing. So I remember holding on to that for so long and being like, these people are awful, like they're not my friends, but it's like, how do that, no one knows. There's no handbook on how to deal with this.
So you felt that the way that you would act out in like, oh, please help me sort of thing didn't project too well onto other people? Is that?
Yeah, it's more the sense of like, I think my anxiety made me miss out on a lot of things socially. It was weird. I didn't want to be at school because I didn't feel good. I didn't want to be at home because I didn't feel good. Like it was such a weird mix. I just wanted to be with mum and like no one else. So when I'd miss out on things, you know, kids go, why weren't you there? Like, where were you? And how do you like sit with another kid and be like, well, actually, this is what's happening. Like, I'm not, you know, no one's talking about things like that at that age. So I think people wanted answers to why I was the way I was and why I would miss out on things. And it wasn't, I didn't want to share. I didn't really want to share, but people felt like they needed answers sort of thing. So it made it difficult. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And that whole social thing of, everyone just talks about everyone.
Oh, 100%.
And anything.
Yeah,
and you're
absolutely.
in such like this microcosm of people who are
Yes.
just like, they need to know what's happening in your life. And I don't know, privacy isn't a thing anymore.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And like I went to a very small all-girls school, so everyone was in everyone's pockets.
Yeah.
Like crazy. And I like see the physical reaction that has in you. Like,
I'm just like, yeah, I don't miss it. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm glad to be out of it. And
you couldn't pay me to go back. Truly.
Yeah, 100%. So you'd say your high school experience wasn't?
I'd say it was really negative, to be honest. Okay. I always loved throwing around like, oh, I would never send my daughter to an all-girls school. But there was so many things that was happening at the same time where I can't just pin it on that. You know, I was having trouble with the learning side. I was having trouble with the home side. Everything that happened at home made friendships hard because it's like this massive piece of your life that you friends don't feel like they know. So yeah, I don't know. It was hard to navigate.
Can you, if you can, describe the feeling of not having the words to express yourself in the way that you wanted to? Like, how was that?
Probably quite lonely because at home it wasn't really spoken about very much, the environment we were in. It was just sort of like, don't talk about it, get on with it sort of thing. So it wasn't actually until I met my boyfriend, Nick, where I actually found the words, and I found someone who loves me so unconditionally where I could actually be like, this is what's happening without being scared of them being like, oh, no, like I don't want anything to do with this. So that was, I think that was a massive part in me healing, was actually being able to say exactly what happened.
Talk to us about Nick. I've met him a handful of times.
Yeah.
I'm in admiration of your relationship. You two are such go-getters, and he seems like he's been this rock.
Oh, I can't even explain to you.
For a really long period of your time together. What's he like?
Oh, he's just the best. Nick is the most emotionally intelligent person I've ever met in my life. I remember Nick and I met and I went around trying to convince my friends that they should date him because I thought he would be such a good boyfriend. And then I was like, oh, actually, I should probably take my own advice. But instantly, he gave me a safe space to talk about my feelings and understand. And he just understood without having to say that much. Yeah, he gave me a really safe space to talk about what was going on at home, what was going on at school. And, he's just wonderful. He's my best friend in the world.
Oh. I love that. I love you too. You two are so cute. I love it. And I guess you dial back to the handbook thing and like not being able to navigate it. And I don't think the school curriculum will ever evolve into a state where you're going to be able to handle these sorts of situations unless you bring in
100%.
like guest speakers or incursions and those sorts of things. But no one pays attention to it, which is, it's really saddening. And I don't think like school prepares you in the way that it should for life.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're just stuck in this predicament where your friends or people that you were surrounding yourself with at the time would have been like, holy shit, like Gab, like lay off it a little bit.
100%. Yeah.
And then you are left really isolated and unable to speak your mind and have that safe space to navigate a conversation about something that terrible that's happening at home.
Yeah.
So it's one of those predicaments where you just wonder like, what is the solution? And have you done some sort of like reflecting or looked introspectively into like what you could have done in that situation?
I honestly think that it was sort of like a double-edged sword. Like, I would hope that not many other people would experience the home and school combo. I think that was a really gnarly experience, like having both of those. I was so lucky where my mum and my brother are just the best. They're incredible. And I had some really good friends who got me through that. But for me, not being very good at school and only really having sport, I don't know. I think now more people are being vulnerable and talking about things. I think I was probably not utilizing my teachers as much as I probably could have. I think I never really connected with the teacher feeling like I could tell them what was happening. And I think I was looking in the wrong friends for I mean, it's not any friends at that age responsibility. And I'm making it sound like I went and told everyone. I probably told 2-3 people. But it was a call for help, and but it also wasn't their responsibility to pick up the pieces or fix anything. No one could have fixed anything in that situation. So I think it's just probably teachers connecting with that student on a bit more of an intimate level, because there's signs for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess they're not like remunerated enough to pick up the pieces, which is just a whole another discussion.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like when you could finally just sort of express yourself a little bit and could piece together the words to reach out and talk about what was happening?
Honestly, probably first feeling embarrassing. I enjoyed giving the context. Like, I think the first person I was really vulnerable with was Nick, and Nick and I started dating in year 10, so it was still while everything was happening. It was quite embarrassing confessing, because I was like, oh my gosh, here's this guy that I like so much. And it wasn't even like, oh, I want to talk about it because I want help. I was like, I just really like him, but I want to give him the context as to like why I am the way I am, sort of thing. So I was sort of like, I promise, like, it'll get better. Like, just hang out.
It's like, I don't want to just trauma dump on you, sort of thing. Yeah.
It was just sort of like, please just hold on. I promise I'll like get better, and like things will get better. So yeah, quite embarrassing, because I just wanted him to see the good side of me and nothing else. But then honestly, now it's quite empowering talking about it. With a lot of people in my life, I talk about it as much as they want to talk about it. I will always have a conversation about it, while trying to be as private as possible. But I think it's been really great for me trying to figure out with this conversation how to navigate what I've been through, because I want to be a person who can help people who are going through similar things. Because when I was younger, I remember like Googling like someone who's gone through something similar, like trying to find someone to talk about what they'd been through. And I just want to be the person that I needed when I was growing up.
Definitely. What are the ways that you've gone about being that person? I know you recently just ran a half marathon.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a bit about that? And I guess like even TAN Talks and the content creation side of things.
Absolutely. So I think in quite a non-intense way, I'm trying to create a safe space for a lot of people. It got to a point for me where my mental health was so bad that I couldn't listen to music. I couldn't listen to podcasts. I couldn't watch movies because anything that was a negative emotion was like making the cup overflow sort of thing. So I honestly really remember, I remember texting my best friend and being like, I love you so much, but right now I can't do anything negative. Like I'm so sorry. I want to be here for you, but I actually can't. So, and I actually sent that text to a few people in my life just saying I have not got the capacity to take on anyone else's issues.
I love that. Just
Yeah.
to jump in. Like setting your boundaries and everything, I think.
And I think, to be honest with you, I wish I had done it when I was better, before it had gotten too much. But it got to my tipping point where I was like, I have to do this, otherwise I don't know what's going to happen. So for me, I remember I went through months and months and months of only being able to watch the happiest of happy content. I remember I was watching like family Christian vloggers on YouTube. That's how
wow.
Like, no, just because I it sounds so stupid now, because I needed nothing. Like, they're just so stupid positive. I look at it now and I'm like, it's probably like messed up behind the scenes. But I literally could not deal with anything negative, where I was just watching the most mind-numbing weird content. So for me, I want to be deep as a person, but the content I put out be really positive. So you can just sort of come to my TikTok or wherever and just think, oh, like, this is nice. I'm not thinking too much about anything right now. But if you meet me as a person, I will talk to you about anything you want to talk about, and sort of giving people that space and that airtime to feel comfortable and talk about things they might not want to talk about.
Definitely. And I think you're doing it to a T. I love it.
Thank you.
It's so good. Because I remember this, like, and this just like jumped to my head as we were speaking at work, how you were talking about like not making any excuse for yourself and like just getting up and doing work. I don't know where that just came from, but I just remember it so vividly, and I want to tie it back to your half marathon. Like, you came back from a 1-year hip surgery to run a half marathon, and you've just been absolutely killing it with content. And for those of you haven't seen Gab's TikTok, like go check it out. It is just Gab Keighley.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think maybe there might be two Ys.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend. Shout out Faye. She was literally like, "Oh my god, I've seen her on my my For You page, and I've been following her. Like, love her content.
What the heck?
Just as a little
That's
pick you
so
up,
nice.
pick me up for you. So your content's getting around, and like the journey from full hip surgery and that video that you posted of you just not being able to walk even to running the half marathon. Talk to us about it. What motivated you? What inspired you?
Well, so the half marathon itself, I ran for Lifeline Australia, which is the suicide prevention hotline. They do insane things for suicide prevention, from talking in schools to their hotline, which is 24 hours a day. I think it's such an incredible resource thing to be talking about as someone who's suffered from mental health issues, but also as someone who has directly been affected by someone else's mental health issues. Making people aware that resource is there is so important to protect your own peace, but then also have, if you need to fall back on. Suicide is something that is it seems like so taboo still. Like, people don't really want to talk about it. And I'm sort of contradicting myself, saying my content is so light and bubbly, but then also being like, let's talk about this.
Nah, you're fine. Yeah. You're good. But you're right. Like, it is pretty taboo. And I sort of sit here squirming about it because, like, for me personally, I can't relate to it. But I know that so much is happening behind the scenes with a lot of people. So, like, that's not the first thing that jumps out to me, but then I have to dial back in and be like, well, no, some people actually jump to that and they don't value themselves in that
100%.
way, where that escape route is their only option.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I have been told that I have a good ability between going from happy to serious, but like still keeping things sort of lighthearted. And I think I have taken that compliment and absolutely ran with it because quite literally,
Oh,
ran
yes.
with it. But I don't know. I just want people to feel safe. I want people to realize that these taboo topics are so stupid. Like, we should be talking it, like, not that they're not, sorry, the taboo topics aren't stupid. The idea of it being
around,
taboo.
yeah.
Like taboo shouldn't even be a word.
Yeah.
Like, because we should just be talking about everything. So training for my half marathon, that was just an insane motivator for me. I felt super, super passionate about it, and just having something like that to get me across the line was really good. It was really good. But it was also the half marathon, as much as it was for other people, it was just for me as well to know that I could still do it. It was such a good mental challenge to push myself. I think sometimes we forget how much our body is capable of. Like, they bloody cut my hip in like 3 parts a year ago, and last week I ran 21.1 kilometers. Like, we can absolutely do anything. Like, it's crazy what your body can do. Yeah.
Definitely. So inspiring.
Thank you.
So good. Yeah, I guess that I always just like replay that video in my head as well. Like, you literally could not walk.
I couldn't.
Yeah. And then we were talking at work and you're like, just need to stop feeling sorry for ourselves. And I think you're the embodiment of that, like the hardships that you've gone through as a kid, and then even that injury setback as well, being taken away from something that you're so passionate about in sport, and then coming back and like with a purpose and a motivator to go do something. Like, I think that's absolutely incredible.
Thank you. In saying that though, I don't want to sit here and pretend like I've always been like this bubbly, happy, positive person. I definitely have always been positive. Like, I've always been glass half full. But I really changed my personality and my outlook on life after getting out of that situation I was in at home. I think like we were talking about faking confidence until you feel it. I faked positivity until I bloody felt it. Like, I was sitting there. I think I have these diaries at home, and I think each of them, I'm pretty sure, is a year. And every single day for 3 years, I wrote what I was grateful for every single night. And there was like 4, I'd make sure it was 4 dot points. And even if it was just like breathing, legs, walking, something silly, like, I don't know.
It's not silly because you literally didn't have like working legs for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's very true now that I think about it. But it was something I had to readjust my whole thinking. I was like, got to a point where I was like, am I just going to let this take over my whole life? Like, I didn't have the best run, me and my family. Like, we experienced some very weird, it went all on for a very long time. But I was like, so what, are you just going to let it keep on going? Or are you just going to keep letting it take over your life? Like, how sad is that if you just keep living this way? I don't know. Like, be empowered, like, take back your life. And ever since, I don't know, positivity has just been like a massive drive for me, and how I make other people feel is super important to me.
Definitely. And taking action as well, using like what is that feeling like, being someone who's predominantly a cup half full sort of person, to have like these negative experiences impact it and almost spoil it as well? Like, where do you sort of see the light coming from? Because I know a lot of people, and this is the suicide prevention hotline, like in relation to that, like they don't see the light at the end. Like, would you say writing 4 things that you're grateful for, or any other techniques, like, were they of any help?
Yeah, 100%. I really can't even express to you how much gratitude has changed my life. It's not something I do every day now, and I want to be really honest with that, but it was something that got me through the hardest period of my life. And some days it would be super in depth, like, moving my body and explaining how it made me feel really, really in depth. Or some days, as I said, it would just be so plain and simple, like, oh, Jaden gave me a cup of water. Like, that was awesome. And I think when you start writing down and acknowledging the smaller things, when the big things come, it's like the most big wave of love. Like then when, you know, it's something more than that, you just feel, I don't know, it really just filled my cup up completely. I found it such a useful tool to sort of go back to zero and then build up from there. Because when you've had a sort of funny time, it's sort of warped of, you know, what's happening and what's good and what's bad, and if you're feeling overly negative. So I don't know, it's kind of nice to just acknowledge the small things and then just not expect big things to come, because then the small things look big themselves.
Definitely. And I think you embody that so well in like your TikTok. Like you're so grateful for the little things, like whether it's going out for a run or someone send you a really nice message and those sorts of things. Like I see that as well. Where did the content creation sort of come out from? Because I guess like I'm thinking of the upbringing and how you felt at school and all the like negativity that was sort of surrounding it. Like where on earth did you find the confidence to start like posting about yourself? You know, and I say that like with a smile because I don't know, like it's funny to talk about, but people are really, I don't know, judgmental.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I think it helped that I was checked out of high school by like year 10. I think I've got like 3 mates from high school that I've kept, and they are like true friends. But I just remember looking around at everyone just being like, oh my God, like what I'm going through at home is so much bigger than all of this. Like I just don't care.
It's funny you say that. And sorry, I'm just going to like jump in as
please,
well.
please.
Yeah, the ability for you to recognize that environment was just not for you is insane. And I think
it was so early.
We're so young and we just get put in. And these people who are like your friends in high school, that I don't know, like would you be friends with them if it weren't for the fact that you went to high school together?
100% no.
Exactly,
Apart from like the good mates that I've kept, I know 100% I would be.
That's what I think about all the time. I'm like, we are bonded by like the memories that we form in high school. And that was by chance that we were born in the same year, we're in the same location, went to the same high school. Yeah. And that's it.
Absolutely. I know, it's bizarre. And yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, complete interjection.
I like cringe at it. I'm like, it's such an awful experience at school. I don't know. What was I saying? I can't even remember.
The content creation, putting yourself out there. Sorry, I completely warped that.
So when it came to putting myself out there, I just didn't care. Like I had already been through so many years of having to block out what people thought of me, where I was like, they're probably already talking about me. Like they are, like I know for a fact, like I've seen the screenshot, like, you know, no, but like, I just don't care at the point. Like I remember having so many people come up to me at school being like, oh my God, I heard this is happening and what's happening. And people were always talking, I feel like behind my back. So when it came to social media and getting out of high school, I was like, you are the last people I care about right now. Like, you know what I mean? And then I had already surrounded myself with such lovely people in my personal life where I was like, I know they're just not going to care. Like they love me for me. But in saying that though, I definitely have really switched the type of content I make from when I started making it. So when I started posting on TikTok, it was like hauls and this is what I'm doing and things like that. And I just had no purpose. There was no, like, I absolutely love consuming that content. I love it. Like, it's so interesting to me. But for me personally, I wanted to be putting more positive stuff out there. And growing up, I wasn't able to afford any of the things I was buying and showing. And I thought to myself, imagine if I had seen this when I was in like year 8 or year 9. I would have felt so crappy about myself because I'd be like, oh, it's another girl who's got this thing that I can't afford. Like, when in reality, like I'm working now, I've got 3 jobs. Like that's the only reason I can afford it. Like you're in high school, you don't have time to have a job. So I just sort of switched up what I was posting, but I was initially posting it, I think, because I wanted to like prove myself to people. Like, oh yeah, I've got this really normal life as well. Like, you know, so normal. I've got all this money that I can spend, and I don't know. I think it was sort of just like comparison paralysis.
That is an insane introspection. Far out. Like posting to project that, hey guys, like I'm fine, like I'm okay.
Yeah, and it was just a bit of a facade. It like wasn't who I am as a person. And then I remember I did the 75 hard challenge, which was my first, I don't know, it was definitely showing more of my personality, but it was still quite a facade in my opinion, because I was still projecting this really like almost too positive person, which I stand by what I said and what I did, and I did the challenge and I was stoked with that. But yeah, it just sort of broke down this wall and I was like, what am I doing? Like, be this real person or like don't do it. Like, what's the purpose of not being yourself?
Beautiful. That's so cool. What the hell?
Yeah.
I love that insight because I guess
know.
like it ties it down to the cliche of like, oh, what you see on social media is like what, like it isn't real. And at the end of the day, you're putting your best parts out.
Oh, well, I was literally staging it. Like, it was so staged to make my life look normal. And, like, oh, my God, it was so... Like, I look back on it and, I can't blame myself because it was just a reaction of my environment. But I was looking at these people with very normal lives, very normal families, like, and just thinking like, oh my gosh, how do I make myself look like this? And, we've grown up in quite a wealthy area, but some of the wealth we are surrounded by is not normal. Like we are so privileged to be in these areas. So when you see these kids who get brand new cars on their 18th birthday and things like that, like that just wasn't the life that I was raised in, like, to be honest with you. So I don't know, I was trying to be like, oh yeah, guys, me too. Like, I'm not working my ass off for this money and like now I have no savings or anything because I'm just buying all this crap. Like, and I don't regret any of it, but I think it was important for me to get to this point where I'm at. But I always picture a girl in high school, probably myself, watching my content and thinking like, what would she be thinking right now? And all I want her to think is like to be empowered that she could do something. Not like, oh damn, I don't have that top, or like I don't have this, or blah blah blah, I'm not as good as that. Like I literally just want her to think like, oh fuck, like she could do that, I could probably do it. Like she had a hip surgery last year and she just ran a half marathon. That probably means I could do it. But yeah, I don't know.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. I think so.
That's so good. Like, that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Far out. Yeah, that's incredible. Because, like, it's one of the... What is it? A canon event?
Maybe.
I've had
a few,
I'm
think.
yet to watch the Spider-Man.
You haven't seen it?
No, I'm yet to watch it. Yeah. Oh, don't roll your eyes at me. Yeah, it's one of those, like, moments where you're like, you look back and you cringe a little bit because you're like, well, that was, like, not me.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I can relate in the terms of, like, high school. Like, I was putting on this facade to be, like, this person that I was not meant to be. And I think there's no, like, platform for people to, like, just step outside of it because we're so, like, confined in this system and this structure of life.
Yeah.
And then we're expected to, like, go on and, like, kick ass and do these things when you haven't actually experienced anything.
It's like, I don't even have a personality
Exactly.
yet, and you're expecting me to, like, figure out what I want to do.
Exactly. And then, like, look at yourself. Like, you have this... obviously, like, the negative trauma and everything, but it's shaped you to be who you are.
100%.
And then you see yourself, like, straying away from that and, like, not wanting to embrace that and wanting to, conform into that consumerist, like, outlook of things. So, yeah, it's just... thank you for sharing. Like, I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, of course. What is next for you?
I think I'm going to try and figure out how I can, instead of... So you know how, actually, sorry, I'm word vomiting. I think next for me, I want to go from that person looking at my content and thinking like, oh, maybe I could do that. I want to somehow connect that to them doing it. So I haven't quite figured out what that next step is for me. Whether it's run club or, I don't know.
You could host like a panel or something. Or,
I don't know, like
awesome.
inviting people like you to come on a run with me, and like people that might not feel like, oh yeah, this is my thing. But like I want to have interesting conversations with people, and I want people to feel safe and empowered and be like, fuck yeah, I can do this as well. Like, absolutely. So I haven't quite figured out what is the next step, but I know I want to go from people feeling empowered to people making action. Yeah.
Awesome. And where can people find you, Gab?
People can find me on TikTok and Instagram, and actually YouTube, but I haven't really been on there for a while.
I know, we need to get the consistency back up.
Yeah. I think I'm just waiting for like another holiday or something.
Yeah, I reckon.
Interesting
You're like
content.
the sporadic, like,
Yeah.
I'll vlog this. I'll vlog this because I'm going away.
Absolutely.
And you didn't do your Euro summer, unfortunately. Yeah, okay, sorry. That's sensitive.
Sorry.
Sensitive.
Both of us.
I know, for both of us. We literally had to hold down the fort.
Hey,
But
it's
is there
hard.
anything that you like want to end on in terms of like, is there a message that you'd love to put out there for people listening or even your own followers as well?
I think for me, it is super important to realize that your experiences, particularly the ones that were shaped for you by others, don't define you. I don't think I realized when I was younger how much control I would have over my own life. And when you're younger, you don't have a whole lot of control. But now, as a 21-year-old, I'm so happy with how much control I have over my life and what I've been able to do with it. And I'm bloody proud of myself, like, to be at the point where I'm at. I don't know, some people, I feel like, you know, it's understandable to have anxieties and depressions and things like that. But I think sometimes sharing what you're going through can help other people be like, okay, maybe if she can do that, I can do it. So I don't know, I just never want people to feel limited or stuck in a box or anything.
Definitely. I think your story's been like so captivating in terms of it's so important to not let go of like who you are as a person and not be ashamed of the experiences that you go through, because
100%.
you don't have entire control over that
Absolutely.
yet as a 21-year-old. So those experiences, like, yes, they might be shit, but just know that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And I think you're such an embodiment of that, like whether it be the family stuff or your ADHD and dyslexia or even the hip surgery as well. Like you, time and time again, you've proven that you can do it.
Yeah.
And I love that you're putting it on a platform where people can relate to it and see that you are human and you're not this like overly optimistic person. Like you've gone through shit and have come out the other end.
Yeah.
Time and time again. So I really appreciate you for sharing your story, and I'm so grateful to be your friend as well.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be your friend. No, truly.
So
No,
cute.
this is
That's awesome.
this is really, I don't know. I love talking to you anyway. So this is just awesome. And I think people just believing in yourself that you can bloody do it. You can bloody do anything. And even in those hard situations, I think trying to control the controllables, I think for me, the first thing I tried to control was how I treated other people. I was like, let's just start with this little one. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm very grateful for our friendship.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow at Life With Lam podcast, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Yo.
Bye.
So good.
Oh.
Yay.